Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wide Open. I am so excited to be here with the one and only Angela Davis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You
so
look
grateful.
Oh, you look fabulous as
Thank
always.
you.
What's going on? Update me. Update me.
I'm just, life is lifing, and I woke up grateful. I woke up excited to share space with you. I woke up and, getting the kiddo off to school, and another one that I just got off the phone with who's in Philly playing soccer.
He is.
As we're here in Los Angeles, so that's an adjustment. But life is lifing, and I feel like I'm grateful.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And we all should be.
Yeah. I just want to be grateful.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you showing up and coming today and giving us that kind of energy. Every time you walk through the door, it's just like you're light. You're an absolute light.
Thank you.
Your character, your integrity. So for the people who don't know you, introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners.
Yeah, I am Angela Manuel-Davis. I am a former professional athlete turned coach, motivational speaker, fitness evangelist. I just finished my first book. I just finished my first album. I created a mantra album, which I'm like super stoked about. I put my motivation over beats, and it's sick. And I'm proud of it.
And I'm proud of you. I tell you what,
Thanks,
the
sister.
way you serve other people.
Thank you.
I tell you this, I was just talking to you about this. It is really a gift.
I appreciate it.
And the courage to share that gift and be so vulnerable and all-encompassing of what you've lived in all of your seasons to share it.
Aww.
I think you have had such a beautiful journey of life. Not all good, not all bad, but you have weathered so many seasons, and you're so wise because you learn from every moment.
Yeah.
So take me back to your origin story. Take me back to your father, Jerry, your siblings. I mean, you're all so creative. You're all so inspiring. You all have such a beautiful gift. And it's not just in the things you do. It's how you show up.
Thank you.
And I want to know that.
I think that came from my parents, like my mom and dad. Our high school sweethearts, still married to this day, started dating when my mom was 15. And I'm the oldest of 4. It's myself and then my brother, Jerry Lorenzo, my brother, Anthony Manuel, and my sister, Natalie Manuel Lee. And my parents just taught us to take whatever it is that we were given and give it back to the world. Like that was the cycle. It was cyclical. It was like, what are the gifts and talents God has given you? Now you give those back to the world. That was the standard, that we were going to serve humanity, that we were going to contribute to this world, that we weren't just going to be takers, that we were going to be givers, that we were going to show up and figure out how to push humanity forward and make the world better. What better fulfillment when you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing? It just hits different.
And it not all people see the world that way.
Nope.
But
and I get that. And I sometimes I feel like there's a naivety and a foolishness to see the world that way, but I can't imagine living any other way.
What got you there? Like, what was this type of character and integrity you carry with you in every room, in every class, in every big moment, but most importantly, in every small moment? Because your people may not know this about your dad, but your dad, Jerry, was a fantastic baseball player in Major League Baseball, and then became a really fantastic manager, coach. Was he dad to you always, or was he coach? Did he go back and forth? Like, I know so much of who you are came
Yeah.
from, your upbringing, your family.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, being raised by a coach
Yeah.
and an athlete who's
Yeah.
so successful.
Yeah. I mean, he was drafted out of high school to play professional baseball. He had over 220 scholarship offers to play baseball, football, basketball. His best sport was football. He was going to go to UCLA, but
Oh,
he
wow.
decided when he was drafted by the Detroit Tigers to go with baseball because his family needed the money. So he chose baseball, which wasn't even his favorite or his best sport. And he was a mediocre player. He was good enough to be drafted out of high school. He made it to the big leagues, but spent most of his playing career in the minor leagues, then went to the front office, scouting and different front office positions, and then found himself really craving to be back on the field. And I think he, like, back in the day, they don't do this anymore, but he was like a player coach. And then he just started coaching and working his way up from coaching to managing to, eventually like manager of the year. Like, he was just like an epic manager, coach, teacher. And for him, it was always what he found was so important was he knew he had this opportunity with these men, and he knew that these men were tremendous athletes. But he knew that the bigger calling and the bigger task for him was to get the man, the father, the son, the brother, the partner to be just as great as the athlete.
Ooh, honey.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? And he knew that that was the call.
Mm.
He understood that. And because he understood that as a coach, that's who he was as a father. So it wasn't always about, we were all extremely talented,
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't, the emphasis wasn't on that. Whereas you would have thought it would have been on that because of who he was as an athlete, a star athlete, and then a professional athlete and coach. But it was, who are you as a person?
Mm-hmm.
Where is your integrity and your character? Where is that in comparison to, my junior year in high school, I have 51 goals my junior year in high school. I was, running track, outrunning people in the 100 meters, blowing bubbles, like chewing gum, blowing bubbles. And he was like, boo. Like, where is the character? Like, yeah, I'm proud of that athleticism, but I also know that comes easy for you. I didn't have to work hard in high school. I was just good.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talented. I didn't really start to work hard until I got to college and I realized, oh my God, everyone's good. But like, those were the things that he was developing in us as children. Like, what are you going to do with that? Is that for your glory? Is that for your, notoriety? What is that for?
Mm.
What do you want to do with that? And it was those questions in like grade school, middle school, high school that challenged us as children to just want to be good humans.
Mm-hmm. Not
just great in what we do, but like great as people, great as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be a great athlete and a bad person.
Oh, God, yeah.
What is that? Why?
Yeah, and I think that's what makes you such a good coach as well. When I came onto the scene, I struggled a lot mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what, watching, listening, hearing, because I've been following you for a long time, it's your ability to understand your physical health and journey is important, but your mental wellness and health is just as important. And I think as athletes, we get it twisted.
Yeah.
We spend so much time physically on preparing our bodies for battle in whatever sport we do, and we neglect so much from the neck up.
Yeah.
And just like you said, I don't care how good you are if you're a fucking mess of a human and you're just taking and stealing people's light and moving through the world and the spaces with this type of entitlement that you just don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care the effect you leave on people.
Yeah.
And this is probably why some of the biggest names in anything wants to be a part of what you do, right? You know, you think about all the people you've trained over the years, of the Jay-Z's to the Beyoncés to the Beckhams to Kerry Washington, Kelly Rowland. I don't even how the list probably goes on and on and on. But I love how you push people to not better themselves just physically, but mentally and spiritually and finding, I think in a world that is so dark and hard, especially right now, people are questioning, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes people like you to say, walk with me. I'm going to hold your hand through this. And I'm going to open up your potential. And put my ego to the side. There's so much beauty in that.
Yeah.
But I know it took a lot of pain for you to get to that place.
Yeah.
And why you chose, after a beautiful career in sports and playing for the U.S. track and field team and you have so many creative parts of you. You were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this out of pain.
Yeah.
And I always ask this question on the podcast. What was that one moment that split you wide open, that changed it all?
Dang, that's a good question.
Yeah. And we all have that moment.
We do. When I was in college, I went to a Christian university. I grew up in a faith-based home, and my parents really wanted me to go to a Christian university. And Oral Roberts University was a Division I school, and I got a scholarship to run track. And so I end up at this really conservative Christian school. And that Christian school taught me to be an activist. It taught me how to fight for my rights and what I believed in, because I all of a sudden saw so much that I felt like was wrong. And part of being at a Christian university was signing an honor code. And in this honor code, you couldn't have premarital sex. And I was like really ashamed of like breaking the honor code in that way. Like I was really ashamed. Like you were made to feel like a sinner and like a really bad person. And so I ended up marrying some dude in college because I didn't want to have premarital sex. So out of shame, I get married to someone who just should have been my boyfriend. He just should have been my boyfriend. It was just a stupid, young, ridiculous. It was so ridiculous.
Young love.
It was so ridiculous.
Yes.
But it lasted like as long as a little relationship should last. But we got a divorce. And that crushed me. I was devastated. I was a failure. I was a sinner. First of all, I was 21. I was a baby. Like, what am I doing?
Cultural influence.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And it split me open. The divorce split me open. The failure split me open. The shame split me open. And it split me open, and then it made me hide it because then I soon realized how ridiculous it was.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was embarrassed that was even my situation. Like, first I was embarrassed that I got a divorce, but then I was embarrassed that I even got married under those circumstances, and like that I was even like brainwashed. So then I held that. Then I held that shame. And I was just bleeding. And then I had to kind of hide to heal, and not like, and people didn't even know fully what I was having to heal from. But that young marriage and all of the surroundings, the implications, and like all of what that represented in my life split me open.
I'm interested to ask you this question, and I haven't been able to ask you this.
Yeah.
Knowing how hard that was for you to sit in and walk through. You know, I recently got a divorce. I felt like I always could feel you and hear you through my social media. You would just send little reminders of, are you okay? You're going to be okay. How are you? Thinking about you. Did you make space for me because you knew I was going through the same thing, and you know the shame and depression one goes through?
I knew exactly. And I didn't want to assume like super tight girlfriend that can hold that kind of space for you. I didn't want to assume that, right? But I needed you to know I saw you. I need you to know you were seen. I needed you to know you weren't alone. And I needed you to know that you were going to get through that. And I could only just insert where I felt I had the right to, but I knew what that felt like. Like, we can't ever say we know exactly what someone else's situation feels like, but I knew to a certain extent what that felt like. And I was married. My first marriage was to a professional athlete. He was like, played pro baseball on my dad's team. Like, I was mortified. I was mortified. I felt like everyone knew. And then I had this glorious example of marriage in my parents. And I just felt like I'm a joke.
Yeah.
I'm a loser.
And even when people have an opinion on your experience, no one is harder on yourself than you. I remember, and I am so grateful that you chose to do those things in a time where I was in the trenches. I waking up. I just remember when you talk about being hopeful, I remember just waking up being like, that's enough today. Yeah. And then I did feel like a lot of people shut doors on me, but you didn't. And you didn't have to. It wasn't like we had this crazy relationship, friendship. We never even had met in person. But your gift and your light, and this is what I feel so deeply connected. You have no idea when someone is walking through the most difficult, darkest time of their life, what a small gesture of kindness to say, I see you. I'm making space for your feelings. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And thank you.
Absolutely.
Because it was such a hard time, and you lived it. But the beauty of being able to not run from it, to learn from it, to be hopeful, and to lead this life of saying, I just have to put one foot in front of the other. I'm not going to always get it right, but I'm going to learn from it.
Well, it's that choice piece, right? It's that choice piece that you just said. And it's like, I'm going to choose to let this grow me and stretch me and make me better. I'm going to choose to put a different perspective on this. I'm not a victim. I'm victorious.
Say it again.
I'm not a victim. I'm victorious. And I'm going to make that choice. And it didn't happen to me, but it happened for me. I'm going to get out of it what I need to get out of it. Because there's something in that are ingredients that I need to prepare me for where I'm going. Period. Like, I can't be who I need to be without this experience. Therefore, I can put a skew of good. I could put a skew of hope on that.
What tells me everything I already know about you is in a time of healing, you chose to not only heal yourself, but serve other people.
Yeah, I had to. I had to.
Like,
that's the easiest way out of your own way is to not make it about you. You know, for me, it was like, all right, I'm gonna start substitute teaching whilst I'm going through this divorce. I was living on the north side of Chicago. And at that time, my dad was managing the Chicago White Sox. And there was a school on the south side of Chicago. And you had to walk through metal detectors every day, which was not normal for me. That wasn't how I grew up. But I was like, I'm a substitute teacher at this school with these students, and I'm going to get in the pocket with them. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, kids are coming to school that just experienced tragedy that I couldn't even fully wrap my head around. Kids coming to school hungry, and like all of a sudden, your perspective is shifted. And this moment that you're going through, it just is put in a different perspective. It's put in a different perspective. It doesn't negate the hurt and the heartache. But for me, that's the quickest route to healing, is to start to pour on and love on other people in the act of service. It just takes you there.
Yeah, it does. And what I know about you, twofolds. How you do anything is how you do everything.
That's right.
Oh, the way you show up in every moment as a wife, sister, mother, businesswoman. How you do anything is how you do everything. And I feel like your servant's towel is always, make sure it's always bigger than your ego. You have no fucking ego. And you have every right to. And your gift is the beauty of being able to make space for other people based on all of these lives that you've lived and all this pain you've gone through. Because life is so, I mean,
it just keeps acting up.
It just keeps acting up.
It just keeps acting up. It keeps cutting up. It's going to keep cutting up. It's going to keep cutting up. I'm tell you that right now. It's going to keep cutting up.
It's always like, I'm always like, whiplash. I'm like in a boxing match with life right now.
Yeah.
But
acting up.
You go through this situation with depression and you choose to, while you're healing yourself, serve other people, and your career takes off completely. No one cared about SoulCycle until you. I'm serious. It was like everything you were building for yourself and the way you were healing, and you were in this healing journey, you find what I assume is the man of your dreams. Because I saw you two together not too long ago. And the first thing, you came back over and you were like, I had to introduce you to my mans. And it was like seeping out of your pores, this
Yeah.
just joy and happiness and tenderness. And then when he opened his mouth and how genuine and safe, and he's just
so
perfect.
good. Like, I'm not good. Like,
Oh,
he's
come
so good.
on.
No, he is so good. It's nauseating.
Oh,
It's nauseating. I am the hot mess, like super extra wife. Like, he is so dope and like chill and like good and pure and like he's so.
well, he's handsome.
Oh, he's fine.
He is handsome.
And he's fine.
But he's just so genuine.
He's a good guy.
And you feel it immediately.
You know it.
So tell me about when he came into your world and your life and how it changed so much. Because clearly, even you sitting here now, like you're just so happy and so many years in, 2 beautiful boys.
We'll be married 20 years.
20 years and
we're just a couple months away from our 20th anniversary. Isn't that nuts?
I love it.
So dope.
But how did it happen? You know, you're going through such a tough time, and then this is what you're talking about. This moment of just waiting and putting your hands up, being like, something has to be out there for me.
Yeah. My mom said this. My mom said something to me one day. She was like, you need to find someone that loves God more than they love you. Let me explain that to you. What that meant for her, and I got it when I met Jerome, was that someone that puts their morals and standards and values and like he's, all of that matters to him. He was gonna take care of me and treat me with honor and respect because of the depth of his values and his morals. And that had to do with his spiritual conviction. Not me. Not because I'm dope. Not because I'm fly. Not because he think I'm cute. Nope. His moral convictions is what has him as the husband that he is to me, and vice versa. It's my moral convictions that have me in the role of the wife that I need to be to him. And that was also what helped me like go through my divorce and like through like situations where people are super shitty to me, is that I'm able to say, I have to go to a place where I'm like, this is also a child of God. This is also a child of God that's broken, that's hurting, that is lost and doesn't have their way and is hurting me because they're hurting and they don't know another way to show up. They don't know another way to show up. Maybe they don't know another way to show up, or maybe they don't have the discipline to choose a different way to show up. And I'm going to choose to give them grace. Now I'm going to learn from it. Shame on me if, I'm going to believe you, but I'll believe you, but I'll have to choose to forgive you because I'm not going to allow you to live rent-free in my mind and torment me. I'm not going to keep playing it over and over what you did to me and like I'm so a victim. No, I got stuff to do and places to go.
I love that.
Woo. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
So that's a choice. And part of me being able to, because I can hold a grudge, right? And that's something that I'm constantly like working on is like that letting go and not like holding that like weight that'll just like weigh me down and like blur my vision and block, perspective that I should have, is just like letting go of those things that don't serve me and those people that don't serve me. Learn from it and keep it moving.
What I'm curious about is you're in this, beautiful season in your life. Career's incredible. You're actually changing the landscape of fitness, how I would like to say it. You really changed the landscape of fitness. You know, you're married and you have your first child. And you have been open about the postpartum depression.
Took me out.
Took you out.
Took me out.
So as someone who has lived their life leading in this way that you have and had gone through the mental health struggle you did after that divorce, how did this one feel different?
It's gnarly.
Oof.
It's gnarly. It's like, I mean, that bad boy was on me so tough. Like I couldn't get up off the couch. Like I was like, I couldn't function. You know, and I was breastfeeding. So that made it like, his food was easy. His food was easy, but like I couldn't function. I could function enough to feed him.
Yeah.
But I couldn't function. It was gnarly. And I just am grateful by the grace of God that I was able to keep breathing long enough to keep living.
Oof. What kept you going?
In the postpartum, what kept me going was I had already been through hard. And I knew I could get through. I didn't know how. I didn't have the answers. I didn't know what that looked like. But I held on to the fact there was still a glimmer of hope that it won't take me out. It won't kill me. It won't take my last breath.
Oof.
It might take me down to it, but it ain't going to take my last breath. I think that was faith. I think that was like knowing I had been through hard before and I wasn't no punk.
Yep.
I had to remember her. That little girl that I was so embarrassed about. I had to remember her. Oh, she ain't no punk.
Oof.
She ain't no punk.
So would you consider the way you show up now as, coach, mom, wife? I assume these experiences, let's start with, the coach side of you. I understand why people said your classes it was like church on wheels.
Yeah.
Was this just a calling for you to move this way in this space? Or like, what was it that you said, oh, I'm going to do this differently? And the way in which I'm going to do this is to create community. I don't say this lightly when I say you really changed the landscape of what working out looked like. But how did you decide to do that? Was this always just this was Angela? This is who I am and this is how I show up. And you either, like you said, rock with it or you don't.
There was a decision.
There was a decision. Tell me about that.
There was a decision. Well, to your point, in the audience here, and then the audience that if I'm standing in front of a room and I'm coaching a big class, we don't know what anyone's going through. We don't know. So I'm, first of all, not going to act like I'm smart enough or cool enough to know that. So it's just being like humble enough to be like, I don't know. And for me, it was about then being brave enough to rely on something bigger than me. Like, I just can't make it without that.
Yeah.
Like, I need, like, we didn't have to wake up today. We didn't have to, but we were on the wake up list. We got to see another day. That's a blessing. That's someone saying, you're not done yet.
Such a gift.
That's someone saying, you're not done yet. So I need to tap in with the one that woke me up today. Tap in, like, what do we got going on here? Like, just use me. I don't know what anyone needs to hear, but I'm just going to show up and surrender to the moment and be used. And that was the same posture that I had going into those coaching moments. I don't know what anyone needs. I actually don't want to be privy to too much because there's a gang of other people in the room. So let me just surrender to the moment and trust that you'll get what you need. You don't have to give me a personal story. Just let me surrender to this moment and trust that you'll get fed. You'll get what you need. And then I think another part was when I made the decision was when I invited my dad one day to come, who was like manager of the year in 2000, like just this brilliant genius coach, like so smart, so brilliant. Again, understanding that what was important to him was that the man was as great as the athlete. I knew I had that same opportunity. I knew that every individual that was in my room, if I could coach them to be great on that bike, the way that I would use that was to coach them to be great, period, in every other area. Because like you said earlier, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So if we can buy into that, I could intensely coach you to be super great on this bike or in this particular medium or in whatever it is. At the same time, I'm cracking you open physically and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Am I pouring in the coaching, the motivation, the encouragement, the inspiration, and you're able to receive it? It's able to seep in. It's able to like find its home. And when it's all said and done, you don't even realize what just happened, you know? But there was a moment where you were wide open.
Yes.
And like the goodness was poured in. The love was poured in. The encouragement was poured in. And all of a sudden you were wide open and able to heal and be rewired and you didn't even realize it. And a lot of times when we were in those when I was in those coaching situations, I would like, sometimes I would look out and like see individuals, but mostly like everybody was like one. And I would see us as a collective. I would see us as a community. I would see us as like, we're going to rise up as a team. It was like open heart surgery. And I knew people were healing. I knew they were healing. I knew that people were coming in broken and walking out whole. Like I knew it. And beautiful. I felt it and I saw it. I was just the space holder. You know what I mean? Like I was just the one that had to surrender and like allow what needed to take place to take place.
Yes.
And that's all. Like, and I couldn't look at myself as anything more than that.
Well, what a beautiful gift that you have.
Thank you.
And I will say this, it also can be a curse at times. I think that's the part people don't realize. And I want to talk about that because I have so much to learn from you and I'm so grateful for our time together. And I get it in a way where, and I say this all the time to my partner, Sophia, because we go to a lot of events between her entertainment piece and my sports. I mean, it's constant.
I can't imagine.
And she goes into a room and she is just, it ignites something in her to have that human connection. She leaves those moments feeling so inspired and just thinking, God, that was just like, she's on a high.
Yeah.
I have the ability in a very small way, that I imagine you do to see people and meet them where they're at, to create space, to create a moment of pure connection, to make them feel safe in a way where conversations like this go deep. And I leave these spaces feeling so tired. And I truthfully, there's times where I have to just lock myself in the room for a few hours or not talk. Like, it takes so much out of me that I have to hibernate in a way to recharge my batteries to be able to serve and show up and do it all over again. How do you protect yourself? Do you feel that? Is that very similar?
I'm exactly the same way. I'm exactly the same way. And what I was taught was that when you're, and this may or may not be the case for you and Sophia, but it is definitely the case for my husband and I, is that I'm an introvert and he's an extrovert. So Jerome and I have a thing where he knows I'll go hard in the paint. Like, I'm out. I'm dibby-dibby-doo. I'm doing all the things. Dibby-dibby-doo. Giving life, giving light.
Lessons.
And then as soon as I have said all I can say, I'm done. And I'm done for a minute. Like, I'm done. Like, it took me out. And then I have to go and I have to refuel for a while, maybe some days. And so what was hard about teaching, as much as I was teaching, was that I was going in the room and in those coaching moments, I was giving all I had. I was pulling from like all of it. Just like, here it is. Here is everything. And in the height, you know, there were times where I was doing that like 5 times a day. And I would go home at the end of the day and feel like I had the flu. Every Tuesday and Thursday when I taught 5, I felt like I had the flu. And what was happening was the people who were my number one, my children, my husband, were getting the least of me. And I was giving perfect strangers like my best. They got my best. This is me.
Yes, I feel this in my bones.
And then my kids and my husband got what was left over. And I had to learn how to give to my number ones and create a schedule that allowed me to be the best coach possible, but to also be the best mom and wife possible. And that took me down to, oh, maybe I can only do this once a day. Maybe I can only do this every other day, which wasn't good for the company, but it was what I needed to be my best for my number ones. And so you learn that. And so now Jerome and I have a great understanding. We'll go out to an event and like, he can kiki all night with randoms and have just small talk and just.
I love it. I love it.
And I start off tough. And then when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And we know. And he's like, he has my back.
I love that. And it's like, that's why I'm laughing, because people think I'm so.
Oh, yeah.
You're out here. You can carry a conversation with anyone. This extrovert. And I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't.
No,
trust
you wear me out. But I'm going to sit here and do it because Kiki, I do love you. I do love you. But it pulls from a different. Like, some people get energy from people, and some people have to get their energy to be with people.
Yes.
And it's all love. It's all love. I just energetically, I feel depleted at the end of
same.
of those interactions.
I agree. And I think that's the hardest part about showing up in the spaces in ways we actually do. And I that's why I say it's a beautiful gift, but it also can be a curse.
Wears you out.
Oh, gosh. So talk to me about your boys. 2, they are so handsome.
They're so dope.
So smart.
They're so dope.
They're
so smart.
So successful.
So successful. I'm just proud to be their mom. I was like, how did this happen? Like, sometimes I'll just look at them and be like, and I'll just tell them, I can't believe I get to be your mom.
Oh.
I can't believe I get to be your mom. They're just dope. They're dope.
It is the greatest title.
Isn't it?
Being mom is probably, and we've won some things in our day. It is the greatest title of my life.
Right?
Also the hardest.
Literally. Because they can be brats too. Like my 18-year-old, I'm just like, you know what? Like he's at that age where he's still so dependent on us, but like swears he knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so you almost every day just want to like headlock him. Like, no, you don't. No, you actually don't. But he's also so freaking great and like integral and like honest, and he's a good human, you know?
It must be hard for you that he's in Philly. So if most people don't know, he is exceptional at soccer.
Yeah.
Playing in the Philadelphia Union system.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's
dope.
He's stealing the show.
He's freaking dope. He's like, he had 14 goals this season. He led the team. So now we're at a little crossroad where he's trying to figure out like what to do and where to go. He wants to go overseas and play. He wants more development and, you know, more tools in his toolbox as far as like that's concerned. And so we're trying to figure it out. He's still like, doesn't do his own laundry that great, like doesn't like feed himself that great. So then there's all that stuff. He finally got his driver's license at 18.
Oh my gosh.
And he got pulled over for the first time yesterday, which was terrifying.
Yes, of course.
It was terrifying. It was so crazy. It was actually 2 days ago. He got pulled over for the first time. And I was like, I freaked out. And I was just like, I was talking to my friend Tony because I remember during COVID, my friend Tony got pulled over and he had like a real crazy reaction to it and like freaked out. And it was not long after all the George Floyd stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, Tony, you need to talk to him. He needs to obey the laws of the land. And I'm like doing all this like high ground parenting. And my friend Tony said to me, which was so profound, he said, Angela, like, he can obey the laws of the land and get pulled over. As a Black man, you need to teach him how to get home safe. And so when Tony said that, I was like, okay. So I'm obsessed with my kids. I love my kids. I have tremendous, well-behaved, phenomenal athlete children. But as a mom of 2 Black boys, I have different concerns.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about, and I come from privilege. Yeah. White privilege. Yeah. And it is scary to raise a Black child in this landscape, in this
Black child that will never know your privilege. Like, you will give them your privilege in the sense of economically, but they will never, the world will never, ever look at your child in the same lens that they look at you. Ever. Ever. And I understood that after Trayvon Martin, when we were at a friend's house, one of my white friends, and I was actually one of the only Black people there, now that I think about it. Me and Jerome and my kids. But their kids were there. It was a pool party. And it was starting, the sun was starting to go down. And my son went and put on his little school hoodie. At that time, he was
Oh.
in elementary school. And he had the hood on. And I'll never forget, we're all sitting out in the backyard at this time, like maybe just eating or something, all at the tables. And my son comes from around the corner. Now, the last time I saw him, he had on his swim trunks.
Mm-hmm.
Now he comes around the corner and he has on his hoodie
Mm-hmm.
with his hood on. And my heart sank. And I realized at that moment, people may not ever know how wonderful and kind and sweet. They will just look at this like Trayvon.
Mm-hmm.
This young Black boy with his hood on and his Skittles and like just that. I immediately had this check and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
it's different. Oh, this is different.
Oh, yep.
Oh, this is different.
And it is, unfortunately, because of what has happened and who has been elected, I'm terrified for our children.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
I don't sleep. It's hard enough to eat.
It's horrific.
It is so scary. And it's so out of our control in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And as a mom raising Black children, especially Black men, I can only, like you said, give them the tools. It's not about getting pulled over. It's about getting home. It's about how do you get home safe with the tools you've been given and the knowledge and how we've raised you. It's still sometimes out of their control.
Scary.
And scary.
It's scary.
And I say this all the time because there is so much of my life right now that I'm scared, I'm fearful, not only being a gay woman for my community, but raising 2 Black children who I've adopted through Florida. I just don't know what is to come. Yeah. And it is a weird feeling now at 39 living in so much fear in 2024. But it fuels me to fight.
Yeah,
that's right. It fuels me to fight.
That's right.
It fuels me to be a connector.
Yep.
To reach out.
That's right.
To say, we're not that different.
Mm-mm.
You and I are not that different.
Nope.
And to serve this country in ways that we choose to do so we can connect people on a level that isn't based on what we look like.
That's right. That's right.
And that is our gift.
And you know what I'm going to tell you? And you know I'm going to tell you as a mom? I'm going to tell you as a mom, we're going to have different fears and concerns. There's going to be things that keep us up at night, all of that. Like, I apologize, Mom and Dad, for what I put you through. However, we can have that. We have to protect them from living in fear.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be free.
Yes.
They need to live. They need to live.
I appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom, sharing your scars.
Thank you, sister.
And thank you for always choosing kindness, for choosing, I always tell my daughter this, kindness is currency.
That's right.
And you live it.
That's right. And you do too. And I'm proud of you for showing up and holding this kind of space for authentic conversations, for allowing us to build community, for allowing us to share space and be in each other's lives. Like, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
As I understand what this requires for you to even sit here and have these conversations. I understand what that requires for you, and the fact that you're willing to pay that price. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being on here.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so vulnerable, so honest, so wide open.
Yeah.
Tell everyone what your work. You're the most creative, artistic person I know, and you're constantly working on things. Let everyone know what's going on.
I have multiple shirts, but so I have a mantra album. Right now, I only have one song released. It's called "I Can Do My Life." And I think it's just a beautiful mantra that I've created for everyone. You know, you can do your life. There's not going to be one obstacle that you'll face that you cannot overcome. You can do your life. You are equipped to do your life. And so you can download that song on Spotify, on Apple Music, Tidal, everywhere where music is. But there is a whole album and there is a book coming. So just be on the lookout. And you can follow me on my Instagram, Angela Manuel-Davis. And that's it. And I love you and you're amazing. And keep crushing being you.
Oh, you are perfect. Thank you. You nail it every time. I'm great.